Welcome back, family. So, if you're new to the channel, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, but most importantly to comment, because I answer all of those comments. I'd love to hear what's going on. I want to let you know that we have our Sunday 11/11 group healing, which is a distant healing that I do just for general health, financial success, and anything you want. It's free. It's for all my clients and anyone in this community who wants to be a part of it. If you also want to work with me just by yourself in your own specific needs, you can book a session with me in the description box below. But let's go ahead and get started. It is another wisdom session, and you all know that I get so excited over this stuff. So today we're going to talk about Atlantis and Lemuria. But before we do, let's do what we always do, which is a prayer just to root us down in our community. It's not religious, just to connect us as a community here at the Reiki Healing Hope community. So do I have your permission to say a prayer? Okay, sounds good. Give me your hand. Dear Mother, Father, God, and all for our highest vibrational good, please connect us to the Reiki Masters, the Ascendant Masters, Master Jesus, Master Buddha, Master Kutumi, all of the archangels, the ancestors, spirit guides, spirit animals, and all of our lineage, so that we may move forward in our highest vibrational path for our highest vibrational good only. And I say all of this in the name of I am. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Let it go, let it go. So it be, so it be. So you all super excited. Now, you all have probably heard about Atlantis before. You might know it as a resort in the Bahamas. But you've also probably heard about it as this kind of ancient story. A lot of times it pops up in things like stories like, The Little Mermaid. These are Atlantean people. Or let me see, some other things too. It kind of pops up, and I think that it's more of it's just people know about it, and they start to infuse it in different stories. Though this is not a conversation about the Little Mermaid. Atlantis, from a metaphysical standpoint, and we've talked about this on the channel before, but we're really just going to take this time to dive into it. If you talk about Atlantis, you have to talk about Lemuria. Now, it's escaping my mind right now, but Atlantis first came up in a conversation. It was like someone Greek or Roman who is telling a story of this place, Atlantis. Now, prior probably to them, I gotta really think about who it was. Prior to them, writing it down and it becoming a part of a story, it probably was like folklore or something that, people talked about before. This person probably didn't make it up, but people talked about before. And, in things over time, as we lose history, like, the Library of Alexandria, losing all of that wisdom and that history, things that would have been common knowledge, thousands, 10,000s of years ago, then became missing. And once these things started to resurface, it started to be like, ooh, this is really interesting, but taking our energy, kind of like what we just had, which was our ancient healing. If we took our energy way back then, it probably would have been like, oh, this is just normal, it's just a normal thing to hear about. So with Atlantis specifically, now, if you look at a map, and this map would have North America on the left, and, well, this is my left, but North America on the left, and then you have everything else like Asia, Australia to the right of the map. Atlantis would be where, similar to the Bahamas in that kind of area, and Lemuria would be kind of on the same kind of a longitudinal, latitudinal kind of like position on the other side of Africa. And I just froze. I was like, wait a minute, latitude, longitude, make sure you say it the right way. That's why I froze for a second. So Lemuria is on that side of the right side of Africa, and Atlantis on the left side of Africa. So the idea, and this takes a lot of looking outside of yourself, is you have to start at looking at the earth. And this just is one perspective. I'm not saying this is the way that it has to be. Looking at one origin story of the earth. The origin story of the earth being that the earth is a place where, from an energetic perspective, souls come to learn lessons to move higher in its vibrational consciousness. The closer you are to the universe source, God, okay, the closer you are to that highest energy, the farthest you are away. You're in places like the earth and having a physical experience, a carbon-based experience rather than a spiritual experience. Now, carbon-based experience, which we are all experiencing, a physical experience, is much harder. The spirit can move very quickly, right? It's infinite. It's, it can understand things, but the physical body takes time. We age, things take time. That's why you have to raise your vibrational energy before you see the things physically come to place in your life. Now, souls would come to the earth and have this experience. Now, in understanding souls, it's also saying that perhaps we're not the only energetic experience out there, that souls can take on different forms. I mean, it probably is hard to think that we're the only planet with a living kind of life on it, being that the galaxy is so big. But I'm not into, I don't want nothing abducting me. I don't want nothing like that's not for me. But it's not too out of my mind to think that like we're probably not the only planet in the universe with something kind of living, as well as like that idea of different dimensions too, that we're having kind of like these different dimensional experiences as well. So I said all of that rigmarole to get down to the point. Now, Atlantis and Lemuria were two places that were thought to have the highest evolved consciousness on Earth. These places everywhere else in the earth, they were in the earlier stage of their development. We're talking about not even 100% sure yet if we are fully evolved into, our species yet, but Atlantis and Lemuria existed. And if you heard of people talk about reptilians, the idea of that comes from, reptiles nowadays have survived so long that perhaps they come from a lineage of energetic whatever that is still remnant here. So one story is that these reptilian energetic things, people, whatever, are here, and they are the energetic things that inhabit Atlantis and Lemuria. And then over time things change, like they look like people, like they just look like people, but it's just a different level of consciousness, and still souls. Everything is a soul regardless of whatever it is. And it's the idea of these things come from somewhere else, they come here and they inhabit it. I know I'm sounding cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now. Just bear with me as I get through the story. So they're inhabiting these spaces, but they have a higher level of consciousness, so they know how to do things that people at that moment do not know how to do, as well as things that are well beyond. So they know how to do things like manipulate the weather. They know how to do things like harness energy, infinite energy, without using like burning or fossil fuels or things like that. They know how to do a lot of these things. They're connected with the energetic energy in a sense of healing, for any kind of sickness and things like that. So they have a lot of that wisdom, but with great power comes great responsibility, Peter Parker. What happened is that the idea is that Atlantis and Lemuria, they knew about each other. They lived in their own separate thing, doing their own thing. They started to get into conflict with each other because Atlantis wanted to go and be more direct with the current population. So, all of the continents wanted to go and impact humans, basically raising their consciousness quicker. And Lemurians were like, they're not ready. Let them have their own evolutionary path. You're going to go, mess things up and make things really messed up. So essentially they're beefing, but not beefing in like a kind of warring kind of thing. It's just like, I know what to do. I'm going to just do what I want to do. That's what the Atlantis energy is. Lemurians are kind of a little bit more responsible. They have, their things too, but they're having this energy. But, people are going about figuring things out, discovering fire and all of this. And so at that time, Atlanteans and Lemurians could do things like manipulate the weather. So them being in control of things like natural disasters or things when they're harvesting, that's a lot of power. And they started to experiment. And the way that it's been told that they were able to manipulate the weather is through crystals. That's why people still have a very fond connection and closeness to crystals. Now, the crystals that they had were probably much different, but when you hold a crystal, when you hold an amethyst and you hold a black tourmaline, energetically you're going to get different experiences. So they learned how to harness certain and probably make certain crystals in order to change the weather in different ways. Now, it's probably not our black tourmaline and our amethyst and things like that. It's probably something much different, but they could do that. Now, what the problem was is when they started to experiment, they didn't necessarily know what the repercussions could be. So this goes back into what I was talking about, the physical body and the energetic spiritual body. The spirit can move very quickly. The physical body takes time. So what they did, or how the story goes, you don't have to believe it, but this is just how the story goes, is that they actually shifted the polar axis of the earth like that rapidly because they were messing around with the weather. And because of that, Atlantis instantly sunk. Actually, no, that's not true. Lemuria instantly sunk and Atlantis started to slowly go underwater. So, it sucks for Lemuria because they just seem like they were minding their own business. But that's probably the reason why we hear more of these Atlantean stories than Lemurian stories. It was years later till I even learned about Lemuria, but the same kind of people as Atlantis. But what Atlantis was doing is it instantly caused Lemuria to sink, and then Atlantis slowly started to sink. Here's the thing, because Atlantis didn't instantly sink all the way, some people thought that people were able to, migrate and go other places. They could no longer inhabit Atlantis, but essentially they got what they wanted, which was they wanted to go interact with Homo sapiens more and be more instrumental. So guess where the ideas that they started to migrate to? They started to migrate to all of the continents essentially, but most importantly, they're going to places like Egypt. They're going to places like Latin America, South America. They're going to these places. And why is that important? Because when you are looking at Egypt, you're looking at things like the pyramids, which is a geometrical structure. And geometry, as we use with our cards at times, is sacred within itself. So there's an idea that the pyramids, of course, are like a burial place. Also that it could represent different pyramids representing, their understanding of the underworld. But also it was on in a energetic space on the earth where they could harness electricity. So that's why it's in that shape, even bowed a little bit on the sides. So it's the idea that they could harness electricity. Even if you read about it, you can look up the Egyptian battery, the idea that they came up with an understanding of how to create a battery. So all of this wisdom is coming from, as tales tell it, I wasn't there, I don't know, coming from these Atlanteans coming to share this wisdom. Now, they probably all looked up like humans, so it's not like these reptiles coming onto the soil, but they probably knew of a higher consciousness and things like that. So they probably went into society becoming, maybe royalty, I could say that, like pharaohs, but most importantly, like the high priest, high priestess, Hierophants, like all of these really medicine people that have and can harness all of this energy. But again, the physical experience, that's why you have to look at souls as neither positive or negative, but having a physical experience. Even these higher evolved Atlanteans could not outrun the physical experience. So you come with all this higher consciousness, but you can still be very aware of things and get caught up in physical traps, falling into, power, greed, forgetting, compassion, unconditional love, all of those things. Any energetic being can do that, but it was a part of their soul's contract to do that, to understand, to probably bring a certain amount of wisdom, but also to understand why too much power is just too much if a person is not responsible for it. You see that now here in the day and age of social media, where you see people, they may instantly become a success, or their success may have taken time, but you have people who literally have never met somebody on social media and they love them to death, or they hate them to their core. And that within itself is very interesting. And then you have the person on the other side who just want a lot of people to love them. They don't feel enough, or they take advantage of the situation. They use their followers or whatever to kind of attack certain things. I actually saw that, side note, I saw that play out in real life in a work situation where I took on a client and I was assisting them, and they had a pretty decent social following. They had maybe 160 something thousand people who followed them as an individual, just their self, as an influencer. And they had a business that was very popular, and they were just really mean. And it was really difficult for me to compute what was going on, because what they were promoting in their business sounded higher vibrationally. It was a woman-based business. That really makes me sad. But just a highness, that's what the outside looking in. But the core of the actual founder and CEO was, I could tell that they were exhausted and tired and just really wanted a break, but couldn't figure out how to have a break. So they just became very combative and very aggressive. And the thing about me is, you all know me, I'm a pretty happy person, pretty laid back, but I also encourage us all to have boundaries. So in no way is this person going to get me out of my peace. And so I had to be stern with them, and they kind of threw this adult temper tantrum to the point where I just had to express that I would no longer be working with them. And here it is, this amazing, amazing person that I'm like, wow, you've done all of this really, really inspirational things, and you're so hurt. You have so much hurt and so much just exhaustion going on in your life that you can't even hover above your experience to see okay, I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I need to be mindful of how I interact with people. And I actually ran into a friend who followed this person on Twitter and was like, yeah, they they went on a rant about our experience, which I found really funny. But also they talked about, my friend had talked about just seeing them kind of use their platform to attack people, being hypersensitive. So I say all that to bring it back to this Atlantean energy that, these higher vibrational beings among regular beings probably felt a sense of entitlement, a sense of enlightenment, a sense of control. They probably weren't patient. And I think maybe that's the insight the Lemurians were trying to say, which was you cannot go and share wisdom with people when they're not ready for it and then expect them instantly to elevate high. It takes something within them. The physical experience takes time to play out. So that's what ended up happening. So we have all of these ancient systems, just even to today, that we're still looking, and we still look at them as these like really cool, marvelous things. And this is kind of like the folklore of how they came to be. So if you have some time, go ahead and research Atlantis, research Lemuria, research these other places too. And it's just, for me, what is so fascinating about it is it just looks at why I'm so attracted to looking at that kind of storyline, because I love learning about this information. But what I'm so attracted about learning about that kind of storyline is, instead of the planet being the beginning and the end, it kind of makes us a part of the universe, that we are just one planet having an experience in the universe that the infinite amount of planets in the universe are having. We're just one planet in this solar system, in this Milky Way galaxy, among numerous other galaxies, just having an experience. And it's this story just talks about the idea of energetic souls, like we all are souls, coming from maybe another galaxy, another planet far away, to kind of inhabit the earth in a sense, and how they can mess it up too. So the moral of the story in all of this, just to get off my soapbox, is to simply say, as you are elevating your consciousness, it comes with a certain level of responsibility. So let the basis of everything you do and be unconditional love, forgiveness, compassion, and patience. It might take you a lifetime to get to where you want to go, but instead of rushing yourself to get there in a year and just be discombobulated, go with the journey. So today, that was our Atlantis and Lemuria explained. I love these wisdom talks. I cannot wait till we have another one. But until next time, if no one has said it to you, I'm going to go ahead and say it to you today. I love you. I'm so excited for you. And go ahead in the comment box below, share any of these kind of like wisdom stories you have. If you know some facts about Atlantis or Lemuria, things you've heard, go ahead and put them in the comment section. But until next time.